Hello, Joe. Hopefully you can see me. I'm going to attempt to reply to your message from the 26th, I think, of November. I think in America you would say November 26th. Over here we say the 26th of November. Because that's where I left off from the last message that you would have got from me, and it's also the longish paragraph which I spent a good amount of time and answered, I thought, very well, but very frustratingly everything I typed was lost, as I told you in the previous message. I'm recording this on my mobile phone because I don't have the fastest internet connection, and this might turn into a fairly long video depending on how well I can formulate my thoughts. And my normal video camera, this thing here, takes a ton of memory. To do a 10-minute video, it's something like 500 or 600 megabytes. So if it's twice that length, and this is a very old computer and it just kills it. Anyway, the paragraph I'm going to attempt to recall what I wrote about starts with our clearest, this is what you wrote, our clearest disagreement comes from your objection to conclusion B. I have many issues with your claim that the laws of physics incorporate everything, and within that we have life. I not only insist that you defend this, I further insist that you account for the existence of the physical laws. One of the things I probably didn't make clear enough was by stating the laws of physics incorporate everything. I think I need to qualify that by saying the laws of physics incorporate everything that we know of in physical. Hang on, bear with me a second. There's a cat trying to break the door down. Right, sorry about that. The laws of physics incorporate everything, and within that we have life. Everything that we can observe and measure, pretty much, it's very hard to... I don't like to use words like all and everything unless I'm absolutely sure about something, and I'm not absolutely sure. So I probably didn't make it that clear. But basically I would rephrase it as pretty much everything that I'm aware of, or everything that can that can be measured with physical instruments. Alright. This is what happens when I try to make an off-the-cuff video. I'm not very good at these. I've done them a couple of times before, and when you're typing, you just type a bit, and then you can pause for a while and read over what you've written and see whether it makes sense, and you can go and tweak it and adjust it, but you can't do that when you're talking to a camera. So, the laws of physics incorporate everything, and within that we have life. Yeah, most of what goes on in the universe, when I say the physical universe, that pretty much means the universe, everything we can see and detect with our own senses and measuring equipment, whether that be telescopes or interferometers or what have you. So, yeah, as far as my understanding of the world is that we live in a physical world, and the emergence of life is something which has happened gradually over a very long period of time. I think I described this in a previous message. As far as I know, and as far as anybody who speaks about this subject from a physical point of view, in the beginning of, at the start of life, there were self-replicating molecules, and this replication process, which could have been, 1 in a quintillion that a molecule would be able to replicate. There was a vast amount of time for that to be able to happen. So, obviously, in the vast majority of instances, there wouldn't be a replication. But, given enough time, if there could have been, there would have been, and we think there was. And a self-replicating process, which I know that sounds vague. I have read about it before, but my memory is imperfect. What I'm basically alluding to is, having read about the subject, which is kind of loosely referred to as abiogenesis, it seems a plausible physical explanation from my point of view. I know that is a long way off what we would call DNA. I think one of the things you said elsewhere was that all life comes from DNA. I don't think that is an accurate summary of the scientific understanding of the emergence and origin of life. For one thing, DNA is a more recent thing to have been discovered, but we don't think that DNA goes all the way back by any means. There was RNA before that, a single helix, I think, is the main difference between RNA and DNA. But anyway, I'm talking outside my area of expertise. So, back to your message. Finlog, the laws of physics are themselves formal, not physical. By that, I assume you mean the laws of physics are something that we can reinterpret in terms of something we can write down or input into the computer and make predictions with. But either your sentence is a bit vague or my understanding of it is vague. The laws, this is back to your message again, the laws describe and prescribe the behavior of physicality. Describe, yes. Prescribe could well be. I'm not so sure. This is something I thought about a good deal more when I typed my previous message, and I can't remember exactly what I wrote, unfortunately. And I'm not long up. I have the house to myself this evening. My missus is away out having a meal, and it's just myself and the cat. It's snowing outside. It was very, very windy last night. One of our sheds in the garden blew away, a fair bit of damage. But it's 8:45 in the evening, and I'm going to attempt to go through more of your message, and rather than writing it all out again, put my thoughts onto a video. I'm not sure how well it's going to work. This might be a one-off. Right. Again, this is why we can put a man on the moon. We could not do this, indeed we could not do science at all if the laws of physics did not exist. That seems to be pretty self-explanatory. The laws of physics are elegant mathematical formulae that accurately describe how physicality behaves. Yeah, pretty much. Formulae, I would say it reduces more to equations, but that's nitpicking, really. But more than that, they prescribe how physicality will behave in the future. Yeah, like, okay, I get that. Prescribe. I would maybe use the word predict. And physicality, I would probably say physical phenomena, but everyone has different ways of saying things, and I suppose that's the problem of communicating with language. It's not always immediately obvious. You know what you think, I know what I think, but trying to get the message across accurately is not always the easiest thing. the fact that physicality behaves is the only reason that we live in a rational universe. Now, this is an excuse me. This is another thing which I have to pick you up on when you say it's the only reason we live in a rational universe. That makes the assumption that you have thought of all other possibilities and been able to dismiss all of them. I would say there's a great deal we don't know about. There might be other reasons which neither of us is aware of. So I would always be very hesitant about saying something like that. You might be right, I don't know. But if physicality is all there is, why should it ever behave? That kind of puzzles me. But if physicality is all there is, why should it ever behave? I don't understand why you use the word should there. That implies that there is some... It goes back to this whole business of anthropomorphism, which to me seems to be one of the core problems of religion. People see, they open their eyes, they look around them, they see stuff going on in the world, and they assume that there is some kind of human-like entity behind everything, pulling the strings. Some people call it God. In previous times, the people were a lot more likely to believe that there were spirits or demons possessing objects and items. Now, being the atheistic person I am, I used to think a little bit like that, but not anymore. I don't believe that there are spirits inside things. I don't believe that there is a God. I don't believe that we have souls, any of those things. I don't know that we don't, and there is the whole idea of our consciousness, the fact that we are conscious, and the fact that we know one day we will die. We don't remember a time before we were born. That I don't think we can predict whether there is anything after we die, but I'm digressing. Here we are, back to your message. Very early in our conversation I posed this question to you and promised to return to it. Now seems to be the right time to do that. Finlag, if matter is all there is, or all there was at one time, aimless, inanimate matter, why should it ever behave? Ever. Yet it does. This kind of is similar to the previous sentence of yours. You use the word should again. And I have to ask why. You ask why should it ever behave. I would say, I don't know. I don't know why. But it does. We can speculate as to why, but I don't know, and I don't know that it makes a lot of sense to even ask that.